while you're reading, you have to, why are you doing the research? Because you want to answer your research questions. So while you're reading the existing literature, you have to read in order to find good answer for your research questions. So develop it, and if that is not yet pinned down, so you need to put on your hunting cap, all right, and start searching, inside the relevant or existing literature in order to find appropriate ones. There are numerous ways to find relevant literature, but I'll cover my top 4 tactics here. I'd suggest combining all 4 methods to ensure that nothing slips past you. Method 1 is Google Scholar scrubbing, right? Getting information from Google Scholar. Google Academic search engine Google Scholar is a great starting point as it provides a good high-level view of the relevant journal articles for whatever keyword you throw at it. So you can go to the Google Scholar and search the main or keyword of your uh, study and find relevant paper. Most valuably, it tells you how many times each article has been cited. It tells you how many times that article has been cited, has been repeated, has been mentioned in the other papers, which gives you an idea of how credible, how important and reliable is that, or at most popular, or at least popularity. Some articles will be free to access, while others will require an account, which brings us to the next method. All right, many articles are free to access, but there are some journals on internet, and some academic journals for which you have to pay the money, or you have to be connected or affiliated by a university, right? For example, you can do it in our university. You can go to the electronic library and ask for the articles that you have searched, and they will search it for you, find it, and give it to you. Method 2 is university database scrounging, right? Generally, universities provide students with access to an online library which provides access to many but not all of the major journals. So if you find an article using Google Scholar that requires paid access, which is quite likely, search for that article in your university database, and if it is listed there, you will have access. As I told you, mostly in some cases you have to pay the money or not if you are affiliated to a university or using the electronic library of your university. You can use their databases, and there is no need to pay any money. Method 3, journal articles snowballing. You add them together, as I told you. At the end of every academic journal article, you will find a list of references. So those list of references also at the end of the journals you have found will give you some good hints, right? You can also search those lists of references and find the related papers over there. So by reading one paper, you may be able to find 20 or 30 related papers as well at the end of the paper. As with any academic writing, these references are the building blocks of the article. So if the article is relevant to your topic, there is a good chance a portion of the reference works will be too. Do a quick scan of the titles and see what seems relevant, then search for the relevant ones in your university database, okay? Instead of, going through internet or surfing the net and trying to find 1000 papers, by just finding 10 related papers and going to the reference section at the end of each paper, you would be able to find 200 related papers in that reference sections. That would be easier. It is a form of a snowballing. Method 4, dissertation scavenging, searching. Similar to method 3 above, you can leverage other students' dissertation. All you have to do is skim through literature review chapters of existing dissertation related to your topic. I told you that skim, look very quickly, through literature review of the chapters of existing dissertation. You may find related papers or related dissertations or theses. In the same related dissertations also, you would be able to find appropriate papers which you need for your topic, for your research. Find a gold mine of potential literature. That's like a gold mine, a very valuable source, or it's like a treasure for you. Usually, your university will provide you with access to previous students' dissertation. I told you, in our university, in the field of English language teaching, methodology, ELT, or English language teaching at MA level, we have had already many students who have written dissertations, or thesis, let's say, for the MA degree. So you can simply find them in the library of the university. But you can also find a much larger selection in the following databases. Yeah, these are good databases. You can go through, internet, you can find them, or scavenge, as it has been said, and find the relevant articles. ProQuest is the first one, Open Access Thesis and Dissertation, EBSCO, Stanford SearchWorks. So these are good databases. Go and search them and find relevant papers. Keep in mind that dissertations and theses are not as academically sound as published peer-reviewed journal articles because they are written by students, not professionals. So be sure to check the credibility of any resources you find using this method. Okay, you have to find the credibility of the sources you use. When you find a paper in a very credible journal, it is reliable because in that journal, the editors have reviewed those articles and they have found the problems. So they are much better because they have already been reviewed. But the thesis or dissertations, have been written by some university students, although checked and evaluated by one or two professors, but it says that the normally papers are more credible sources. You can do this by assessing the citation count of any given article in Google Scholar. In Google Scholar, you can search the citation count, the number of citations, the number of times that paper has been, cited or mentioned in the other papers. So that would give you a good hint for the popularity or credibility of that paper. If you need help with assessing the credibility of any article or with finding relevant research in general, you can chat with one of the search specialties as has been written here. Okay, so that's enough up to this section, log, catalog, and synthesize. And as I told you, and as you see, we talked about these important elements, in today's presentation. I told you that you have to find reliable and valuable sources, especially by going to these credible databases. Especially in these databases, you can find very valuable researchers: ProQuest, Open Access, Thesis and Dissertation, EBSCO, Stanford ResearchWorks. Go through them and that will help you. And we talked about dissertation scavenging and journal articles, snowballing, and Google Scholar scrubbing, finding or getting information from Google Scholar. These are good resources for you to find relevant papers, to your study. Normally students ask me or the other professors, how can I find relevant papers? In today's presentation, you saw that how you can get or find relevant papers. As I told you, it's a very important, hunting or finding relevant papers, relevant literature is very important. Sometimes the students, write something in their literature which is not relevant. For example, the variable is about critical approach, but they have written about something else. So, or the papers they have found are not related, or they have not talked about that critical approach, for example. So, you have to find relevant literature in your search. So as I told you, literature review literature review section is a very important part of your thesis. Sometimes the students think that no, it's not very important. They take it. They do not take it seriously. They just say that okay, it's easy to write from the other people's articles and papers or dissertations. They say that although this literature review is one part of your proposal which has been mostly written by the other people, but it is important how you can find the relevant literature to your research, because it gives you a hint how you have delved into the previous researches or the existing literature, and how much familiar you are with those literature, and how deep you have gone into the existing literature related to your study. So use these steps and methodologies in your research. Today we talked about the research design as well, and how you can get information, or why you should include in the research design of your study. As we said, these are 5 important steps: title, introduction, scope, literature review, and research design. And in the research design, I said that there are some subcategories like subjects or participants, instrumentations, like the instruments that you use for your study, and the procedures of your data analysis and procedure of your data collection. Okay, so I highly advise you to read these sections again, and also I advise you to take a look at the relevant try to find a relevant and important problem in your field, because that is very important. What kind of problem are you going to work on? Is it really the problem is really a problem that should be solved, or no? For example, some of the students have given me some topics like communicative language teaching, and the use of communicative language teaching in, for example, Iraqi context and the like. But I asked them, do you think that this really a problem in your field? Is it really related to the present or recent researches done in the field of literature, in the field of ELT? Communicative language teaching is a very good method, and of course not very new, but what do you want to do with it? How do you want to add, knowledge to this method? It would be okay if you are able to look at it from different angles, as I told you. Add something new to that, or combine it or synthesize it with some other, variables. In that case, that would be okay. Otherwise, merely talking about communicative language teaching would not be suitable. So don't forget also the practicality of your study. It's very important. As I told you, your time and your money, your budget is limited, right? So you have to think about them, and also you have to think about the access of the equipments. Do you have access to classes or no? And you know that nowadays the classes are being held in the electronic forms. Are you able to go to some normal classes to get the students, some tests, or ask them to fill some questionnaires and the like? Is it possible? You have to think about these issues, right? Or no, you want to send your tests or questionnaires electronically through email